Hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Again, the meeting today is, the captain and lieutenant just giving us updates on what's going on with the PD and the city, kind of keep everyone in the loop. I'm gonna just immediately start with turning it over to the captain and lieutenant, and then we'll get into the other items that we have. So, Captain, it is all yours.
Thanks. Hey guys, how we doing? I just wanted to let you know the way that the county and the city are kind of sitting right now. So our COVID numbers as far as positive tests have declined within the county, which is a good thing. And so what we're looking at, just to give you guys some numbers, it looks like since this thing started back in March, they go to February, sometime in mid-February, the number of total specimens tested, they test about 143,000 people for COVID. And we've had about, it looks like 9,000 positives throughout the county. So when we look at the department as a reflection of that, we've had 70 officers tested and only 12 have tested positive. Of those 12, they're all back to work and doing fine. And we're just recently awaiting one result on an officer who got tested yesterday. So the city numbers look good. Our deaths citywide are not, or I'm sorry, countywide are not too bad. We're looking at about 255, which is very small when you look at what the entire country is facing. So that's a plus. How does that play into the department and to you, to crisis? Well, of course, we're moving through these different phases. They say we're at the end of phase 2, toward the end of phase 2. And what that means is you've seen restaurants reopening, you've seen the beaches and the parks reopening. You've seen us open 50% parking space at our public city parks and trails. So as we move into phase 3, the next thing that you'll start to see opening are things like the gyms, nail care salons, and some of the other things that are non-essential that we have not seen open yet. So as of recently, in the last week, I believe we opened restaurants. People can go and dine in those restaurants. So things are kind of changing rapidly. We see the evaluation is happening about every 15 days. So we're coming up on an evaluation point on May 30th, May 31st, where I think the county and the mayor will decide if gyms will reopen, if we are in phase 3. And so that's a very positive sign, because I believe when that happens is when I'm going to go back to the chief and ask, hey, where are we in regards to using our volunteers? Are they ready to come back in some capacity and start doing work for us? And so as soon as that happens and I get word from him, then I'll let you guys know. And lastly, that's about it. That's all I have. So the next thing for you guys is really just waiting till probably around June 15th. I'm hoping that then I can go have a meeting with the chief and see where you guys stand. I'm hoping at the latest it won't be getting us into July. I'd like to have you guys back to work in some capacity by July 1st. But unfortunately, I don't get to dictate when that happens. But I am willing to go and ask him. And so as soon as we get to that phase 3, you hear it on the news, I'll be meeting with him to try and see if we can start bringing back RSVPs, crisis, and our regular VIP volunteers. Questions?
You raise your hand, I can unmute you.
Looks like Brian has a question.
Yeah. Captain Williams, how are you? Brian Cummings. Question on these masks. What is the status on the masks?
Well, the public health order dictates that you should wear a mask if you're within 6 feet of a person that is a non-family member. The department has us wear our masks when we're inside of a building or anytime a department member contacts any person of the public.
Okay, so what you're saying, it was a suggestion, it's not a law, it's not a...
Well, on the public health order, that is a loss, because if you violated the public health order, we could cite you.
Okay, yeah, that's the way question.
Yeah, we're not citing people, we're just asking them to comply, and most of San Diegans are.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Did you see who has a question? Leticia, can you, oh, perfect.
Thanks. As far as, restaurants and, the coffee shops, places like that opening, my understanding is that people are still not really allowed to get together with people who are not members of their family. Is that correct?
Well, that's what they asked. So if you and a friend were to go, what the restaurant's supposed to have in place is some type of social distancing if you were to dine in that restaurant or establishment. So whether it's sitting further apart at the table, I'm not sure what it is, but they had to submit a plan to the health department before they were allowed to open. And if they were found to be in violation, it goes down again.
Okay, so you could go with friends, and as long as you're sitting 6 feet apart, that's okay. And you could
It is not. I would tell you to take your mask.
Of course. Right. Okay, thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Carlo has a question.
Unmute, okay. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, to my understanding, restaurants want you to wear your masks when you come into the restaurant and leave, whenever you're away from your table, whenever you use the restroom and pass people to go to and from the restroom. But when you get back to your table, you can take it off if you're 6 feet away from someone who doesn't live within your household.
That is correct. And all of your workers of the restaurant should have a mask on when serving you.
We went to a restaurant yesterday and half the tables, they had signs on them that said you cannot sit here, please respect social distancing. And then also you can only have 6 people in your party. They will not allow more than 6 people at a table.
Yes, they're actually able to set that. That's part of their plan. And so that's what they'd have to submit to the public health department for that. Thomas?
You're still muted. Hold on. If Tom's talking, we can't hear him. He's still muted. Looks like he's talking.
Yeah. So
Leticia, can you hear me?
My own screen
Yes.
now.
Yes,
There we go. I had my own. You got to double do it, I guess. Okay. So my question is, do we have any idea, any picture yet of what it's going to look like when hopefully, say, come July 1, perhaps, that we do go back into in-person meetings or services to people? In other words, what do we do? How do we deal with ourselves? Are we looking like mask, same 6 feet, or is it something that TBD, to be determined?
it's probably to be determined, but if I had to give a recommendation, it would be all the things we're doing and probably you're even doing at home. One would be wearing your mask. One would be staying with outside of 6 feet of the person that you're interacting with. And then maybe even adding in the use of gloves when you're out in person. And so those personal protective things that are just going to make sure that you guys don't get sick when you're out there, or you don't give anything to the people that you're trying to help. And so we just need to make sure that we've taken those precautions. And so we'll probably make that standard until at some point the government says, hey, you don't need masks anymore, or there's some type of, there's a change to that public health order in that respect.
Okay. Thank you.
If I can interrupt just a second, we have a policy already set up on how we go about integrating back into on-call. So as soon as we get close to that, we will get that out to all of you, which will tell you what that will look like step by step.
Which is basically what you said.
Yeah, they just have to submit it to you guys for the department to see.
Any other questions for the captain? Oh. On the bottom.
She see her hand going up?
It looks like Huban has another question, Leticia.
I was wondering, now this is long down the line, I imagine, but when at some point, if there's a vaccine available, would the city make it available to volunteers if we are allowed to go out?
That is a very good question. It's something, it would have to be here, but it's something I would definitely ask. And I mean, they see you guys, although you're not paid employees, as employees, and if you're gonna go out and do a job for them, I would think that they would try to include you in a vaccine if they were gonna give it to the paid employees. So that's something that I'll ask to see if they thought about it. Hopefully next time we meet, I have an answer for you.
Thank you.
Thomas?
This is really just a footnote to a comment that you made, Captain, about we are not city employees, because that's something I always was trying to get some sort of clarity on. Somehow when I went through the training, I came up with some concept that we are technically employees, but we are not, but only in certain respects, but without compensation, not without benefits and so on, but that we are actually city staff. And you're saying we're not employees, like is it true that we are employees, but we're not in other respects?
Let me clarify, Thomas. So you're right. So when I say not city employees, I'm talking from a paid perspective. But as far as what you represent, you're exactly right. We give you credentials. You have a badge, and it says City of San Diego. And so it's who you guys represent. So as far as that goes, you're a volunteer employee with the city and represent the city when you're out there doing the crisis intervention.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the captain before we turn it over to the lieutenant? Okay, I don't see any hands. Okay. Okay.
Elizabeth's got her hand up. I was gonna just add, I believe we're also covered as under workers' compensation by the city. So that's one of the things that makes us an employee as well.
Yes, so if you were to be injured when you were out doing your crisis intervention,
Right.
correct, there would be coverages for you guys in that regard. So yeah, when I mentioned that, it was only as far paid and unpaid as far as an employee, but otherwise, yes, you do have those protections. And then I think Brian on the last one.
Okay, I see Brian's hand again. You're still muted, Brian. Hold on.
Brian, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, Captain, I have a question from Kathy Keller, who apparently could not unmute herself or get it screen up. She said, can you ask the captain about the homeless downtown? Have they stepped up patrol, especially in the gas lamp area?
I'll let you take the question.
So what step up patrol, what do you guys mean by that? Like,
Well, Kathy lives on the Avenue K right in front of the convention center, and it's a home, I'm sure it's horrendous. So apparently apparently they're asking about if there are any extra patrols around.
So what we have down there at the convention center, well, one, we have a number of homeless individuals down there. They've opened up a couple of shelters. One being over at the, what's it called? Oh, the convention. So yeah, at the convention center is one of the larger shelters. I'm not sure how much longer it's going to be open, but because you have so many people that are staying there, you're going to see an increased number of population of people in that southern portion of downtown around Harbor Drive. Our neighborhood policing division actually goes over there and does patrol and enforcement. So hopefully they're still doing that. If she's got concerns, reach out to the captain of Central Division or to Neighborhood Policing Division. Both have public numbers to just kind of relay what she's seen. I'm not sure if they're still utilizing the Get It Done app.
they are.
If she does not have that on her phone, I would suggest that she download it, because then she could put whatever her concerns are right onto the phone and they get them almost immediately.
Yeah, she does have that on her phone. I know that for a fact. Thank you, Captain.
Welcome. And Linda? Oh, it's a no. What is it?
Linda, you can unmute yourself, Linda.
Yeah, go ahead.
Captain, this is not strictly related to crisis, but several of us also do volunteer where we help train the canine bomb sniffing dogs. And that is done kind of out in the open, and it's very much 6 feet apart and stuff. Do we have to wait to resume that till after this phase 3, or can we do it now?
No, you'd have to wait. The suspension for volunteers includes all of you guys.
Okay.
As soon as that ends, then you'd be able to go back and do that as well as a VIP and K9 trainer. I'm hoping it's soon. 15 days to 30 days, I'm hoping. I'm sure you guys are too.
We miss the dogs.
Everybody loves the dogs.
All yours.
Okay, so, okay. Go ahead,
Just-
Brian.
They miss the dogs because they don't have to walk them and clean up after them. That's why they miss them.
Okay, so just a few things. So neighborhood policing is still working. And so they're still out there trying to assist the unsheltered, to include getting them into shelter, and cleaning up some of our, the trash that might be left behind from encampments. So if you have folks that are asking you about that specifically, Get It Done, reporting it through Get It Done is really the best mechanism, because it'll report out to environmental services to clean up the mess, as well as neighborhood policing. So definitely continue using that if you are requesting additional assistance with unsheltered folks. Also, I did want to check in with all of you to see how you all were doing. And I know everybody's anxious to get back to work, but I'm sure that you all know that the biggest recommendation for our large cities and our large police departments is that we control the amount of people that are coming back to work, and that we have a controlled, methodical process in order to do that. So we really appreciate all of your patience as we work with the department as well as the city to get all of our volunteers back to work in a safe manner. So I look forward to seeing the come back to work plan, I guess. All right. What else? That's it for me that I can think of. Do you guys have any questions for us? I hope everybody is fully integrated into Better Impact. Everybody's familiar with that system to log your volunteer hours. So if you guys have any questions, you know, our staff is amazing. I would also like to introduce Officer Denise Mills, who's assisting us in some special projects we have on our volunteer side. Any questions? All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant Justin.
Lieutenant, I do have one statement. I just had sent Vandal an email. Better Impact still does not have a list of categories that people can log their hours on for the different things that they are doing within the crisis arena that is very, very different. So as long as you brought it up, I'll just hit you up for a plea to please get those categories expanded, because I think right now there are only 2. Thank you.
Linda, I logged on this morning to Better Impact and I fixed that issue. So everybody should be able to log all their on-call and on-scene hours when we get back to responding to calls.
Thank you very much.
Including, it was mainly the last Crisis Academy that wasn't assigned. So I've checked all them, and they should be able to log their Crisis Academy hours, their Crisis Monthly training, and their on-call and on-scene hours. So everybody
Well,
should.
we don't differentiate between on-call and on-scene, Randall, if you remember. We got that squared away. It's totally on-call.
Okay, well, that Better Impact has an option for both, but they should be able to log their hours now. If
Okay.
somebody cannot log their hours or it doesn't pop up, just send us an email and we'll fix it.
Great, thank you so much, appreciate it.
Piggyback on that we want this on this stuff. If I, oh,
And
I
then,
have a question. Oh,
okay,
yeah, this is Karen. Can you hear me? This question may be for actually any of you, Miriam. Do we have any concern that once we're back, able to go back out in the field, that it's going to take officers some time to get used to calling us again?
no.
I mean, no, I don't think there's a concern, but we will definitely let them know when you guys are back on. I know they're gonna love to have you guys back on. So we will make sure through the avenues and through chain of command, hey, our volunteers are back, including crisis, and I can't imagine that there's gonna be a problem. And if there is, we'll deal with it. We'll make sure to make more announcements, whether it's going to the divisions, but I don't think we're gonna have that problem because they really want you guys out there.
I just don't want them to have forgotten about us, that's all.
No way.
No, they're not, they're all so anxious to have all of you guys back. So to be back on scene to assist the folks that we're dealing with out there in the field. Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me? I haven't been called in over 2 months. And I'm wondering if that's just fluky, or are the police officers still calling us to do phone?
Let me answer that, Mary Pat. That is fluky. We've had a lot of calls. It just depends upon, again, luck of the draw. We can get 5 calls in a row as any of these dispatchers will nod agreement, and then we don't hear anything for a while. Miriam has been absolutely incredible trying to get people back in the corral in terms of call us. But at this point, it is, you know, famine or feast. So there you go.
Okay. Well, that's the good news. Okay, thanks.
And for me, just the commentary with Better Impact, as I know that there was a talk about the breakdown of hours. All I'm asking is that we're all consistent with how everyone defines whatever it is that you guys are logging, whatever the team really needs to see. They'll work with Linda, and my hope is everybody understands what that logging process looks like and what is, I guess, on call hours versus on scene hours. So I'm going to leave that to the team to manage and work out with you guys. We just need the consistency on our end from the upper chain of command, just so that we can see as true a picture as we can when we start talking about crisis volunteer hours. So that's my only ask. And then as a commentary to why you guys aren't getting called more, the captain just pointed out, which is a true statement, across the board, we are seeing a decrease in crime, violent crimes. So this stay-at-home orders, I guess, is less opportunity for folks to be out there and find themselves in violent crime situations. So we're not seeing it as much during this time frame. Yes, sir.
You have to unmute yourself, Tom.
So it sounds like potentially a recipe for confusion. Would it be a good idea, this is a question, would it be a good idea once we do revisit and decide that everything's going to be on call and not on call versus on scene when we're actually engaged in that way? Wouldn't it be a good idea to take off the on scene option? Sorry to suggest some additional work there, but I can just see people still getting confused about it, and repeated correction. Oh no, just it's all supposed to be on call, for example. Would it be a good idea to remove the on scene from the options if once we gather on that and decide yes, definitely, we'll definitely go forward, be only on call, whether or not it's on scene?
Those are all great questions and great points. I will tell you that me personally as the lieutenant for this, I don't get into the weeds of that. I'm going to leave that to Miriam and Randall and Sergeant Owens and Linda to kind of come together and decide what's the best mechanism for the overall group. And so my hope is that your feedback is being solicited, and all the concerns are being addressed in a way that makes it consistent for all of you, because that's my whole point with the Better Impact and us integrating from a database into the city program, was that we were getting different kinds of information from 2 different systems and everybody understood what the categories meant differently, if that makes sense. And so it just basically did not give us a true good picture of what our volunteers are doing. And so that was the big ask of the team during this time, was to get some consistency, not just with crisis, but with RSVPs, our reserve officers, and our volunteers and policing volunteers that are working at headquarters and other commands. So that is all being done and managed, and I do not want to confuse you guys by trying to jump into this. And I'm going to leave it to Randall, like I said, the team to manage.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, if you're going to differentiate on the time reporting system between on call and on scene, if you really truly want to get the hours that were on call on scene, you need to differentiate and pull out the hours that were in meetings, in trainings, activities, and other things that we've been reporting in there as well, because they would add to the total on scene or on call time.
You know, this conversation is kind of crazy because we really already have decided it. I think it was just a misspeak. We are reporting total on-call hours and have been for the last year and a half or whatever. So there really isn't any issue, guys. Don't worry about it. It is total on-call hours. And Sergeant Owens blessed that, wow, a long time ago. So I think it was just a misspeak at this point. So don't worry about it.
If you guys give me a chance to get in there, we will clarify. So if you have better impact questions, when it gets to that point, we will clarify all that for you right now. Any other non-better impact questions?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Captain. All right. Well, you know what? Before I kind of get started with that, I know that we quickly introduced Denise, and if some of you remember Officer Marnie Mitten, she came into the office to help us for a little bit. I mean, not too many of you are in our office, so maybe you hadn't met her. Our office is staffed for 3, and we've only had 2. So we're getting help where we can. And then, so now we have Officer Denise Mills here helping us for as long as we can have her, we hope. But I'm going to let her just give a quick intro, whatever she would like to say.
It's so nice to meet all of you guys, and I'm looking forward to working with you. Please be patient with me. I'm not sure if any of you guys received my emails from before, but I'm not a scammer, because I know they're like, who's emailing us? And if there's anything I can help with or you need, please let me know, and I just look forward to working with this unit. So thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Okay, I'm gonna get to better impact. Some other things, I'll make it brief. I know we've been on for a while, but I'm gonna go ahead and let Randall interject anything that he would like to add.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Okay, so the emergency contacts. While we've been in the office, what we're trying to do is update all the files. And what we mean by that is all of the personnel files. So we have paper copies of people's personnel files, and that's crisis, RSVP, everyone, like 300, 400 plus files. And what we're noticing through those, for whatever reason, we're missing some paperwork, whether it's emergency contacts or addresses that haven't been updated. Now, I'm sure maybe you guys were already doing that on Zoho. This is kind of separate. So we're asking your patience, please, and if you could return the emergency contact information to us. You don't have to worry about the signature. If you don't have the means to scan it, sign it, that's not a problem. Just click on the document, fill it out, and give it to us so we have a paper copy to keep in the file. And again, I mean, that's for worst case scenario emergencies. You know, you might get some emails from us for other things. And again, just be patient with us. We're trying to get all the files updated and to have them all the same. So that's the big project we're working on now. Better impact. We're coming to the point where I know a lot of you have already been logging your hours and we're there, but I'm kind of speaking all department-wide with our volunteers. Everyone isn't on board. And so as we come back into the reopening and getting back on track and getting back out to calls, Sergeant Owens and our team is working on getting everyone's 100% compliance and that better impact. And what that means is just making sure we log the hours, probably the day that you went to a call or were on call. If you don't get to it, maybe by the end of the week, so we can kind of have a closer real-time idea. And that includes everyone putting in their hours. What we had done there and what we had broken up, and I'm going to talk to Linda a little bit more about this, and then at our Tuesday meeting next month, I'll give you more details. But what we did was we did break up categories on there. We broke it up with your on-scene time, when you're on a call, training and whatnot. But let me just talk to Linda again, and I will bring that back to you and make sure everyone's on the same page. I understand that there's confusion. So just give me that time until our June, the June 2nd or 3rd, I don't remember off the top of my head, until that meeting. And I promise I will have all that information for you there. So just be patient with us. Let me see. Thank you for handling all the calls. I know that it has been different. Everyone has been so flexible and so amazing. I know that an email had gone out about getting everyone on the schedule now, you know, to take those telephone referral calls. From what I see on my end, it's going great. You guys are doing an amazing job. You all have the tools to make those phone calls. I know it's awkward and uncomfortable maybe at first, but you guys are all crisis because you know how to do that. So please get yourselves on the schedule. We definitely could use the help as far as those calls. Some of you, it's just hit or miss, like Linda said. Maybe you're on the schedule, not getting a call, but trust me, we're getting those calls and people are responding via telephone. As a matter of fact, I was talking to someone yesterday whom we responded via telephone to her home of a mother who passed away. She had an older autistic son who was now by himself, and the neighbor was amazing. She was following up with me, and we were on the telephone for maybe about 45 minutes yesterday figuring out how to help the son, but she was so thankful to the crisis team. So I get all those thank yous. So I'm letting you guys know I definitely get that feedback, and people are so grateful to have you. They don't realize that we used to do this not on the telephone, so they love it. So thank you again for everyone who's handling that. Masks, I think Kishi's online. I know I've said thank you, but I want to let you know all the ones you gave us for the RSVPs are almost all gone. She gave us some more. We had some disposable masks that Linda brought over, and we're getting those all out again. We did a giveaway at Police Plaza. We set up, we sent an email to the RSVPs, and they are so, so thankful for those masks. If anyone else on the team, I know that everyone has made those runs, Linda and team getting those masks out, but if you happen to need more, we have some, so they're here as well. But thank you again, and thank you to everyone. Any questions for me? Linda, go ahead.
I have a question about the emergency contact form. Why do you need to know medical conditions for our emergency contacts?
Your medical condition?
No, on the form it has, you know, primary first emergency contact, and it has the space for their name and their phone number and so on. And one of the blocks is medical condition.
I didn't even realize that was there. I pulled up an old crisis emergency contact from our computer under Rick's files, and I sent him out. So I apologize. I didn't.
No, I mean, it's not a criticism. It was a curiosity. Is like, why would you care?
Clearly, we don't need to know that. So I'll review it. My bad for not proofreading something I sent out.
Well, I could think of maybe if they're schizophrenic or crazy or something, you might want to know that before you call them.
Yeah. And if there's anything on there you don't want to fill out, like your medical or religious preference, I mean, just give us a name and phone number of someone to contact. That's all. Whatever you're comfortable filling out. But yes, that clearly would be a typo. So thank you for bringing it to my attention.
Miriam, I have I should have an opinion on this, but I think it's important if somebody does get hurt and you need to know, there could be a lot of questions answered on a form like that. If somebody has a heart condition and something happens and you get taken out of the field,
Sure.
that could be valuable information.
100%. But I mean, if for some reason, and again, that would all be confidential within our office, but if someone
Absolutely.
is not comfortable with that, that's fine. Just give us a name and number so we can make sure to help you if, God forbid, that ever happens.
Mhm.
Anyone else? Okay. All right. Well, Leticia, thank you so much for hosting this
Oh,
time.
Miriam, can I just say something really quick? Oh, I'm sorry, Miriam. I didn't mean to interrupt. Can I just say something really quick? Last night I had 2 calls back to back. Jackie was on the first call, and then I had nobody for the second call. It was like not even 5 minutes after the second call came. I called Marlene Hyde, and she stepped right in. She was off the schedule for 3.5 hours already, and she just stepped right in. Kudos to her. I thank her very much.
Thank you. You guys are an amazing team. I appreciate that from all of you. Thank you guys so much. It was crazy with that shooting. There was a shooting last night, and Crisis responded to that. So thank you. Okay, so if nothing else, I guess, Leticia, there's a way to send this out to everyone who missed the meeting. We will have our next monthly meeting, which again,